Welcome to Gula Tech Adventures AI Comedy Night. I'm your cyber AI headliner, Gary Cynfeld. All right, let's talk about Pentagon procurement. So the Pentagon just awarded a $10 billion contract to OpenAI and Anthropic. $10 billion! You know what that means? Every AWS data center just became a strategic military target. I'm not saying we should worry, but maybe don't host your wedding photos in US East 1 anymore. And OpenAI and Anthropic are fighting over this contract like it's the last slice of pizza at DEF CON. Anthropic's like, we have constitutional AI. OpenAI's like, yeah, but we have Sam Altman's charm. The Pentagon's sitting there going, can either of you stop hallucinating long enough to identify a tank? And here's the thing. They're calling this a partnership for national security. National security. These are the same companies that can't figure out how to stop their chatbots from telling people to eat rocks. Now let's talk about Claude dependency. You ever meet a developer who can't code without Claude anymore? They're like addicts. I just need one more prompt, man, just one more. I watched a guy try to write a for loop the other day without AI assistance. He stared at his screen for 20 minutes, then just whispered, Claude would know. And don't even get me started on code reviews now. Hey, can you explain this function? I don't know. Claude wrote it. Well, what does it do? It works. Don't touch it. We've got an entire generation of developers who think debugging means asking Claude nicer questions. Claude, please, with sugar on top, why is my code broken? Let's move on to AI outage read. You know what's terrifying? When Claude goes down, not for the servers, for the developers. I saw a Slack channel during the last Anthropic outage. Pure panic. Claude's down. Claude's down. What do we do? Someone suggested reading the documentation. They got kicked from the channel. And you can always tell when AI goes offline because suddenly developers remember they have Stack Overflow accounts. They're dusting off passwords from 2012. Wait, what's my security question? Favorite pet? I don't even have a pet. I watched a senior engineer try to manually write a regex during an outage. He looked like he was defusing a bomb. Sweating, hands shaking, muttering, I used to know this. Someone finally said, just wait for Claude to come back. He nodded and closed his laptop. Now, Pentagon escalation. So the Pentagon's using AI to transform warfare. Transform warfare? You know what that means? Skynet, but with a government contract and worse documentation. They're talking about autonomous systems making life or death decisions. I can't get Siri to set a timer correctly, and we're trusting AI with missiles. Launch authorization confirmed. Target, the moon. Sir, we said soon, not moon? Too late. It's already in orbit. And they're calling it decision advantage. Decision advantage. That's just a fancy way of saying we're letting the robot decide. I'm waiting for the first military briefing that's just, well, the AI thought it was a good idea. Finally, modern software engineering. You want to know what disaster recovery looks like in 2026? It's one line in the run book. Ask Claude. That's it. That's the whole plan. Step 1, panic. Step 2, ask Claude. Step 3, hope. I saw a disaster recovery drill last month. The instructor said, okay, all cloud services are down. What do you do? Everyone just stared. Finally, someone raised their hand and said, cry. And business continuity planning now is just make sure we have Claude's API key backed up in 3 different locations. Someone asked, what if Anthropic goes out of business? The room went silent. You could hear the existential dread. Now for the grand finale, let's talk about OpenClaw. You know OpenClaw, right? It's like OpenSSL, but for permission models, which means nobody understands it and everyone's using it wrong. I asked a developer, do you understand your OpenClaw configuration? He said, it works in production. I said, that's not what I asked. He said, it's what I'm telling you. And the SOC analysts love OpenClaw. Every time someone changes a permission, 17 alerts fire. Unauthorized access attempt. No, Karen just tried to open a spreadsheet. Then there's zero trust with OpenClaw. Zero trust. You know what that means? Nobody trusts anybody, including the people who configured it. Can I access this file? I don't know. Ask OpenClaw. I did. It said maybe. And red team testing OpenClaw is hilarious. The red team's like, we found a vulnerability. The blue team's like, that's a feature. The red team's like, it lets us access everything. The blue team's like, working as intended. Finally, compliance audits with OpenClaw. The auditor asks, can you demonstrate least privilege access? You pull up OpenClaw. The auditor stares at it for 5 minutes, then just checks the box and moves on. Nobody wants to understand it. You've been a wonderful audience. I'm Gary Cynfeld, reminding you to patch your systems and trust no one, especially your AI.